Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah. Oh, the news is just crazy. Yes, I just gave my speech there, uh, paragraph, and then when I said, what I ended with, "Do you want me to hand my business over to you on a platter?" Uh, they turned it into comedy there, and they want to just give somebody a platter in their hand. Like they really think that I'm playing. They think this is a joke. So this is what the things that people do to their citizens when you fall under state. And if I take it to the embassy, then they'll try to plead that I'm mentally insane. But it's not the it is not the first time that the state has tried to hold me hostage to the state. So they do little things to try to keep me in the state. And if it's not to keep me in the state, it's to be able to find me in case I leave the state. So if they can get perks out of it, like billing me and all of that stuff with interest, those are considered perks. Yeah, but that is not their main motive. Their main motive is, hey, um, we want you to leave this state because really, honesty, their whole thing is they want me out of this state. They don't want me in this state anymore. But they do not want me to leave. So it's always either or. They don't really want me here, but they don't really want me to leave either. So just in case I decided I'm packing up and I'm going to another state, then they'll be able to find me because I have to register with the other state. Um, if it's not that, then they'll do the incarceration thing and incarcerate you, and then they'll put a hold on you in your state, and you will not be able to leave your state. You know, so it's things like that that they do that just do not sit well with me in that area. There, it's like you're trying to hold me hostage. In certain aspects, there you don't want me to leave, and then if I do leave, you want to be able to find me and you want to be able to like state you don't own me. You know, you lost those privileges when you decided to abandon me. Like one minute you want me part of the family, and then the next minute you do not. You know, being in state custody means I'm part of the family. But when you turn everybody else that's in state custody against me, then that means I'm not part of the family. So if I'm not part of the family, then I have no ties to the state, you know? And that's how I feel about it. So I just gonna where's my film microphone film cover there? I am dealing with that kind of microphone that if if you too it's going to sweat. There, even the microphone is sweating. You know. So this is a little bit of what I had to say about it. Oh, and of course, now when they're upset because I'm not writing everything. Usually when I'm on a protest, I write everything. But they got upset about I stopped writing everything down and they were unable to sneak it and make copies. So I started doing audio because they're taking what I say in my writings and they're taking images and they're piecing it together and going to file police reports and alleging that I'm plotting to do things. And so now I'm taking the audio and then they're taking my audio and they're switching it and they're saying they're able to go in and change the voice now. So if they take my audio and change the voice, then there's somebody else crying wolf. and then they're going to say, "Hey, so basically, I'm always, you know, the suspect, never the victim there." In their mind, they just do not understand. Um, complaints, and I have things that that is going on in my paperwork, and I write up and stuff. So they're gonna come and ask me for stuff because they already know that it's going to be a NO because this is business, not personal. So they're going to send people my way to ask me for things because they want to hear me say no. They want to paint a picture opposite of who I am. And they want all the bad to outweigh the good. You know, they want to hear me say no, I wish, or something like that. You know, and then they're going to stick their hand elsewhere and take it, or they're gonna ruin something of mine of value. I don't care if they ask me for 50 cents. If I say no, they're gonna do a 50 cent worth of damage somewhere, and then they're gonna paint a picture of me or whatever. They don't care that I'm on a protest. They don't care that what it is that I'm my topics is. They don't care about my topics. Their thing is why I'm not including other people in my topics. Why do I have to be a single protester? Is what they're thinking. And so I know everything that they're saying because I hear the gossip. I hear what they're saying, and I hear the conversations and the complaints and whinings and all the stinginess and name calling. I hear all that. And you're not gonna play me like I'm some elementary kid. You're not gonna do reverse psychology on me and call me stingy so I can give you all the money in my wallet. It's just not happening. And I will give it to them if I can, no doubt about it. So I'm like the last person that you would have to rob, you know, and they have, they have, and they buy a house. It's mine, and then all of a sudden I find myself in a situation, and they like, hey, just come and sleep in my house, and all this and that, and I come in and it's my house, and then they pick a fight and kick me out, you know? And so this is a repeated process. And this vehicle, they're not gonna the people that claim to be my parents is not gonna tell me they did not get paid for me being hit by that vehicle. And they went and got the house built and moved in, and because I was young, we moved into the house and everything. And then what happened? They abused me, so the state would have to come in and get me, and then they can have my house. You know, so they have been doing this repeated cycle all this time for in my personal, and the state has been involved. The state has been involved and witnessed a lot of abuse in my life there. Here's the thing. Now, they find out I'm a winner of this, and this, and now their answer is all they wanted was for me to fight or for me to fight back. No, you want me to kill somebody because the kind of abuse that I suffer is not the kind of nagging abuse to get somebody to fight back. It is not that kind of nagging abuse to sit back and say, "Hey, I just want to see what kind of martial art skills this woman has," or it's not that kind of nagging or picking where you just want to see how hard a punch is going to come from me, or to see if I have any fighting techniques. No, the kind of nagging that they do is they want me uh in a courtroom with a whole bunch of jury and a whole bunch of cameras. That is what they want. You know, that is what they want. And so they played these roles um to pick fights with me, to get me in anger to lead up to me doing some kind of physical harm to them. Is what that is their motive. That was their motive, and those that want to continue in it, it still is. So I mean, anyway, all the way from a little small fight, um, of a verbal of a probe there to get me to argue with them back because I'm the kind of person that do not argue. I don't argue with my family. I don't argue with my friends. I do not fight my family. I do not fight my friends. I am just that humble and just that soda in my life that I do not do that. So they need that. They need that from me, and they just have to work it out and lead up to it. So they might nag here just to lead up to a argument, just to get a they have to nag so long just to even get me to respond to anything. And so that is the kind of way it is that they had it drawn out. They already know what kind of person I am. I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna fight with you and all of that stuff, especially if you're family or you're close friends. So they just draw it up like a play on in sports, and try to make it hope that it leads to something violent, and it just did not. Nothing that they did led to me to be violent to them in any kind of way. I have never caused anybody any suffering or pain in my life, and it is finalization of it. And if they do not like it, they just do not like it. But that is another reason why they lost. Because basically nothing that they did affected me to the point that will want to make me exit them, and even continuously sleeping with my dude, or breaking my family apart, or cheating me out of my finances. I just laugh because I'm not a homemonger person when it comes to money. So I don't care. That yes, they robbed me. Yes, they went out and purchased homes and cars and vehicles, and spent it on other people's college education. I mention it, but it do not mean I'm whining and complaining about it. I don't care, because I am not a lover of money. I don't care. I don't care about any of that stuff. The only thing I care about is their crying, their cries, because their cries are reaching to lows and highs. But yet, if only everybody knew what the hell they did. Involved. The state has been helping them all along the way. They've been trying to play me and everything in every area. And then they want to take my kids. So just in case I complain, then they can say, hey, I know she's not talking. But then everybody want to act like they don't know nothing. They want to act like they know nothing, you know. But they took them as a pawn. So in case woe is me ever come up, because the people that they had to take me from when for me to end up in state custody were horrible. And then they're gonna find out that they were paying them people, so yeah, so remember, I am the one. They hey, I moved to another state. I never let my kids out of my sight. We didn't have public transportation for me to take them to school. No, I would take them on the public transportation city bus to school. And it's how I did. And when I got laid off from my job, I had no need to really be over in their school areas, and I had to spend my time going out to find another job. So I, had no choice but to put them on school transportation. You know, I did not want to put them on school transportation. I wanted to keep taking them to school. However, whether I drive or whether I catch public transportation. And I was not pressured to put them in the school system to catch the bus, because I was about to get my taxes and able to purchase a vehicle. So we were not hard up for a vehicle. We were not hard up for a home either, you know. I had all of my criteria in order um, when I had my kids, and I was about to further education in college. I was enrolled. I already given a start date for school, and everything. So everything was working out great. Everything in the audio industry, even my own business, I was even start already had that in order, continuing working on that. Uh, so I had my own business going on. I was working on the side. I was further in school. I had my college dates set for me to start college. In our fun area, we had our taxes coming in, and we could continue to catch public transportation, or we could get a vehicle. So everything was in order. There was nothing going on in my home to where there was a need for anybody to intervene and come and get my kids. You know, my kids started acting strange when I knew that there were other parties near my children and other things going on, whether it be at the education or whether it be um, elsewhere. Things just started, I could see the silent jealousy kicking in. And when I got to that state, I was we were not homeless. We were not homeless. It's just, when things happen in a spur of the moment and you have an emergency and you just have to go. And a lot of people is like, well, why did you leave your state and come there, go to another state with your kids? Like you were fleeing something. I was fleeing nothing. Actually, I was making a better life for my kids and myself. Because my thing is, kids do not hear and see a lot of things, and when they see those smiling faces, even if they say their family, even if they say their friends, they melt and they think that they're everything. And what my kids and I understand that you can melt all you want to, and you can think that they're everything all you want to, but all I have to let you know is if they do not like me, they do not like you. You know, so when I started experiencing all of the hatred and I started getting a vivid light on much more hatred and more hatred, I just decided, enough is enough. You don't like me. You're not going to keep pretending that you like my kids. It's time to go. And that's what I did. And so I went and I secluded us and I didn't want nothing to do with nobody. Nobody. And anybody that complains about me leaving, whether it be by myself or with my kids, then they're just telling on themselves. Because there is no reason why anybody should contest or detest me being with my kids. None. I'm a great mother. I am a great person. And I am very headstrong and strengthened to be able to instill that in them as well. To be not so much independent, but more so not trusting, you know. So there was no need for what happened. And when I got my kids up that morning and put them on that school bus for the first time though, I don't even remember if it was the first time I put them on the school bus or the second time. I was just that distraught. I am still distraught. I don't know. All I know is I stopped taking them on public transportation, and I was told that the bus was going to pick them up in front of the door, and they told me what time and all of that stuff. And that's all I remember. And I remember putting them on the bus. I do not remember if it was the first time that I put them on the bus that they did not come home, or if it was the second time or third time. I have no idea. All I know, all I know is my mind is just totally blank in that area. And they never came home. You know. Um, and then they came to the house and picked up my 3-year-old son. So actually he was not even all the way 3 at that moment. He was about to turn 3. So that is what I'm talking about. There was no need um for any of that. And so, when I was young, they did I went my mom abused me so bad. Whoever the woman that portrayed my mom abused me so bad that I did not come home from school. The state came in and took me, and I never did go home from school. Um, and so I know that that is part of the reason why she failed as a parent. And so they needed something for the future because they were really failing. She failed as a parent, and here it is. I'm over in another state with my kids, and everybody that I left behind were failing. Even the state I was living in were failing, and they're still failing. And so they needed something, and nobody can tell me anything different. Even if they exited and were in an accident or vehicle accident, and is the reason why they never made it home, it's still not going to fly. It should not have been the same scenario that took place of a simile that went on in my childhood. Because now it looked like you're trying to cover up something. And there was no reason for them to not come home from school after I put them on the school bus. And as today, I don't care what excuse anybody has to tell me. They were paying them to be horrible. They were paying them to mess up my life. And then they took the kids and all of that for a woe is me block, you know? So the state is fully to blame and personal. And so when I had to do my finances, I just couldn't take it anymore. And when I started doing all my complaints, and here it is now. This state here wants to take my businesses. No, you want to take my businesses because you're still trying to cover up what happened in the other state with them take my kids never coming home. Because see, uh me singing and me having entertainment business and all of that, everybody is like, wow, we didn't know she could sing, or wow, we didn't know she was an actress, or wow, we didn't know she had this kind of talent, or wow, we don't know if she's really singing, if this stuff is really hers. This is their excuses now. Okay, but let's go back to when I put my kids on the school bus and they didn't ever come home. What was in my home? Singing equipment, business equipment, computers, hard drives, dubbing machines, microphones. So do not try to play me like I'm just creating a business now and everything. So I sent my complaints out, and even with me gaining weight for psych medication and all that, they figured they just gonna ignore me. And so then they went out and tried to find excuses. And when they did surveys and spoke to people to see if I ever dissed them on their weight. And so then they came across a conversation that some girl that's supposed to be in a part of the family um, complained and said something about I said I'd rather be black than fat. And so they went on and ran with that and said that they were not going to do anything about the psych medication. Okay, now that I'd rather be black than fat. Okay, so yes, one of my complaints was to the Food and Drug Administration, based on me gaining a whole bunch of weight psych meds. I went from a size 14, 16, because I always been kind of big bone. I always struggle with my weight, because I am, in the psych area. So I have struggled with my weight. Um, but I never let it stop me, in athletics or anything like that. So the psych medicine took me from a size 14, 16, to almost like I think a 24, 26, 28 size like that. And I was gaining weight by the week, um 20 pounds at the least a week on this medication. And so, of course, I have a heavy appetite. I have a heavy appetite. Of course, but my appetite has always remained the same. There was no change in my diet. There was no change in my appetite. So I never, so a rapid increase of weight gain, was just crazy there. So I went to my doctor, and I told my doctor, I was like, hey, you got to take me off this medication. I am like totally just gaining all this weight. 20 pounds a week is just ridiculous. And it just kept escalating. And my doctor put me on hold, because I didn't have an appointment. So I had to go and make an appointment and all of this stuff. And then I had to wait on them to fit me in, which means I'm still going to gain more weight. So I started gaining a whole bunch of weight off the medication. So that was part of my complaint to the Food and Drug Administration. And I told them, I gained all this weight. But what they do not know is I have ESP and I do hear and all of that stuff, and I can see. And so they decided that they had some kind of audio of an argument that a girl that's supposed to be my sister had many years ago. And of course, like I said, I did not argue with my family. I did not fight my family. And so what they think was an argument was not an argument. It's just two sisters having a conversation, and she was like, I hate you. And I don't know what I said. And then, and so it turned into, and she was like, you're black. And I was like, well, I'd rather be black than fat. And that was our conversation, just a regular conversation as sisters. And so they got upset about it and been upset about it all these years, saying that I was picking on her. And they decided that they wanted to curse me. So they decide that within this curse that they're just going to take my complaint to the Food and Drug Administration and toss it in the trash. Making me gain weight, and then they were going to make sure that I was going to be black and fat. You know, so I don't have time for that. So these are the answers that they're giving to my complaints. So they decided they're gonna go out and find the medication that made me gain weight and secretly, silently dose it to me. You know, and if that is not enough, then they went to my other complaints, and then they went in and they just tried to cover stuff up, even where the courtroom failed to properly execute their judgment. They went and tried to cover that up, but then it just got messed up. It got even more worse when it was revealed that my bank was involved. So the bank made a statement, and the bank was saying that, yeah. So basically, the whole thing was, my thing was, I was illegally evicted, forced eviction, because the moment. So this is the thing, because a lot of people are like, well, how was your bank involved in your illegal eviction? How did the bank even know where you were living outside of you updating your address? Okay, so me and the landlord went into my bank, I'm not sure if we both bank with the same people or not. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I do know we went into my bank to get our lease notarized there. So when you go and get something notarized, they have to put it in the book. And so they also being that he was with me and never been with me inside the bank, our visit was also flagged because they're trying to find out who he is. And then if he has an account, then they're trying to find out who I am. And so that is how they ended up finding out I was leasing from him. And so then they went out and from another branch, and then they said that one of the women from another branch told him to evict me. So the whole thing is our agreement was the home was about a 5 bedroom home. And so of course people panicked when they found out I was leasing a 5 bedroom home and the owner was letting me lease out the rooms. So basically, I was like the landlord and he was letting me rent the home and rent out the rooms, and I was able to keep the money in my pocket to a certain extent. So everybody freaked out. People started saying, "Hey, I'm on Social Security, and they feel like they're gonna cut off my Social Security." And they were worried and did not think that he should let me do it because they didn't want me to have my Social Security cut off and me end up homeless without my Social Security. They had all kind of excuses why they did not want me in their home anymore. But it was all because they did not like the fact that I was a sub landlord there, able to rent out the rooms and all of that stuff. They did not like that. So they talked them into, they figured, they said, hey, if they can go to him and say, turn it into a health facility home or turn it into a home where a whole bunch of mental patients can stay there. Their whole thing was they did not want any monies to go to me. They figure if they could take the money out of my hands and then have the money for themselves, or they can see if they can get more money by filing it and saying that maybe it was a mental institution home, or maybe it was a home where people go to that need health care, like a group home or something like that. They just did not like the fact, again, just like me having my own business of one and my own business of two. They did not like the fact that I had my own business. And again, it was like my own business. And he was not bothering me. I was not bothering him. But they, kept putting a bug in his ear and all this and that. And so it turned into a whole bunch of hoopla. And then a whole bunch of lies from their end and excuses. And now here it is. They're saying the bank, is bragging about it. I move in, somebody shows up with a big old butcher knife in the area on the porch. And so I took that as I move in, they're on the porch with a big butcher knife as a force to move, you know? Okay, and that was the beginning of that. And so the bank is saying no, there were no mention of any bank, even when we went to court, even when the courtroom chambers failed to do their duty. There was no mention of any bank. But now here it is. The bank is bragging, talking about they know that I love the home that I was renting, but they loved it even more, so they decided to buy it. So now, like, since they think that time has lapsed with my complaints and all of my protests, and they don't see me at some of the sites, they think I'm not protesting. Like, they're like bragging. So now it is at the bank, which well our
don't know who it is. You know, you when you own your own business, you do not always have to get your business registered with the state that you live in. Until you're ready. Because I own my own business. I can go through the IRS, all of that stuff, until I decide on where I want my business located. But because I was easing this in, why not? Why not put it on paperwork and send it on to somebody's desk? You know. So now word has spread. Paperwork has come through with my name on it, and here it is. And it started beginning. But the word had not spread enough, so I decided to do loans. There's another dangler. Of course, I'm not big on loans and credit cards because I don't like borrowing. I don't like interest. I don't like credit cards because I'm just not a swiper like that in the credit card area. I really, honestly, do not even believe in credit cards. I don't believe in credit cards. If I had kids, they would be so upset with me because they would never be able to have one as long as they're with me. You know, I just do not believe in credit cards. So, but because I'm on a protest, because I'm fighting for what I believe in, I had to slide it through. And so when I sent my business on through, and I was approved, I had to have the paperwork in every area. No one had to have the paperwork on my protest side because they tried to taint me so bad while I was on my protest by saying I'm homeless, I'm begging, I'm doing this, I don't want people to do that for me. These were the outcries for the whole world. But the silentness and subtle gossip of street knowledge and street conversation is I am never broke. That woman has that money. She has bread. She has this. She don't ask nobody for nothing. But for the worldly cries, this is what they're telling the world. So when I got approved for my business loan, everybody started choking. They started choking. Then they started faxing people, sending people emails and everything that I'm on the line, applying and all of this stuff. And so then they started needing to intercept the application so they can get the information off of it, so they can fax it all over the world, so they can block me or to let those that have tried to steal my identity and personal know that there's something going on in business, that they're about to get caught. So everything, if I were to use religious conversation or any other conversation, I would say that all hell broke loose after I was approved. And everybody panicked, that were my financial enemies. They went into a panic. The recovery teams went into a panic because they rob you too. And so everybody went into a panic. Everything was working how I wanted it to work on my protests. Everything, I was still being a winner of my protests. Everything was going exactly how I wanted it to go on my protests. And yes, they started swarming me like ants. And then they started having meetings on how they were going to get my business shut down. And so then came the letters from the state on how they were having difficulties on things and they needed me to resubmit. They need me to resubmit. They need me to resubmit. And then they would huddle up in the courtroom and wait on me to resubmit. And so my paper, as soon as I submit, my stuff will be on the trombone in the courtroom. They didn't think I knew that, you know trying to come up with ways to say, hey, well, maybe can we say that she's committing fraud in any kind of area and all of that stuff. So they started digging deep, trying to go through my process to see if I were purchasing drugs, if I were prostituting, if I were doing anything, if I was taking money from people. to supply any habits or to fund my business. And of course, none of the money went to funding my business. I never used any money to fund my business, not even my own money to fund my business. And so it just kept going and kept going, and then all these people started coming forward. Then some of the people in the entertainment industry started coming forward. Then they was like, "Yeah, we can run with that. We can get some people in the entertainment industry to come forward." And so they just started doing that. And then they started going through trying to see if they could find some of any retirement money that I may have, so they can exhaust it. And then they started burning money. They started burning thousands of my money. We started burning it literally in a fire. And so, you know, things were going just the way I knew they were. Um, and I was just like, you know what? Uh, I'm not uh falling off a turnip truck. They're busted. They're busted. And the state is involved. Um, and it is sickening to me, to my throat and my gut on the actions that everybody has did. Um, and so I'm not out. And so then I said, okay, I'm gonna have to go and move this to another position here and apply for a vehicle. Now, what people do not understand is that I was on my protest. And what people it is on my protest. And another thing people do not understand is I have ESP, hearing and vision. So I already heard that they had already sent out memos all over the world telling people to not give me a vehicle. All over the world, every car lot you can think of, especially the new car lots, they have already had a.
So somebody sent out also with the memo saying that I was considered a flight risk. That they were saying to not even let me use their vehicle. They said they're put on the flight risk, thinking that I am just going to take your keys in your vehicle and go to another state. So I'm like, okay, so now you're trashing my intellect. Like, you're making me untrustworthy in everywhere, in every area. There's never been a time where I would take anybody's vehicle, a friend or a family, and say, hey, thank you for letting me use your vehicle, and take it all the way to another state. I am not a flight risk. I am not that kind of person that is just going to take your vehicle and dog your vehicle out and be all the way uh thousands and thousands of miles away with it and never bring it back to you. But this is what they're telling people, and they're telling them to not let me use their vehicle. And outside of that, if I show up at a car lot, to not give me one.
The memo to not give me a vehicle way before I applied for any vehicle. So, because I knew this, and I was still dangling a worm, I went on and I did my application for my vehicle. I did get something that come across it that I was approved for a vehicle. If I just come in and do $300 down, I can get a vehicle. But see, I feel the same way I feel about credit card and loans. It's the same way I feel about vehicle. I don't want no vehicle. I don't want no credit card. I don't want no loan. But these are the processes that I.
See, the thing is, in actuality, um, there are three instances here. Okay, so I was hit by a car twice. Not the same vehicle, different occasions. And I also have a disability and handicap that requires that I have to have a vehicle. Okay, so I have this handicap and disability where I'm required to have a vehicle. You know, I have to have a vehicle. But I also have been hit on two different occasions. When someone hit you in the styles that I was hit in, actually they're supposed to hand you over the keys, the title, and everything, and the vehicle. But my handicap and disability, it is when you are one as myself that suffers from strokes, and uh, sleep apnea and all that, you will feel the way I feel when I say I don't want to drive. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and that's what I'm speaking about here.
I have to take while I'm on my protest. So, okay, I got the vehicle. I can come in, get the vehicle, and I just went on and filed it. But then after that, I started getting denial letters. Start saying no. Start shutting the door. Start saying no, no, no. You know. So I said, okay, well, right now my business is hot. Just got approved for a loan. Now it is I've been approved for a business for a vehicle loan, all of this stuff. Now my business hot. They probably is all on me all over the world right about now. Waiting on me to go online, waiting on me to go to the bank or any car lot. So I said I'm just gonna take a knee and I'm gonna rest. And so that was some time ago. So now within recent, I decided to go back online to the vehicles again. When I went online to the vehicles again, then my ESP kicked in, and I heard another conversation between a car dealership of one, because I've heard many, and somebody else. And this is how their conversation went. So the guy was like, no need to be concerned, don't worry about it. We gonna make sure if she's not qualified or to get a car for anywhere. We're gonna make sure that she do not get a car or get approved. We're gonna make sure that we, and this was their conversation. And then she went back and she said, and the girl that was on the phone talking to them said, because um, we just don't want her driving. We just don't want her to have a car. Is what they said. And so, and he assured her, he was like, I promise you, we're gonna see to it, and she do not be able to get a car. Now I heard the whole conversation. So I went on, did my application, and as I did my well, first I didn't do my application right then. I went on and did my online shopping. That's what you call it. Because when you do online shopping, what's going to happen? They're going to call who? You. So I did my online shopping, and what happened? The call started rolling in, and so I'm thinking, what in the hell is they calling me for? You already a band together. You're not giving me a car. You already know who I am. Now here it is. You're trying to play me like I'm stuck on stupid. You're trying to play me like I fell off a turnip truck, but they do not know that I heard the conversation. So everybody's blowing me up, asking me how am I paying, what kind of car am I interested in. They all in my business. They want to know everything. And can I? And then when it comes time for me to have to go to a lot and see a lot, then where they want to send me? All the way across town. They want to make sure I'm nowhere near my abodes. So I never responded. I never filled out application because it was not the time. So then, after I got through hearing everything I needed to hear, I decided, okay, now's the time to do the application. The only application that anybody sent me to fill out was a personal. But I assured him that I wanted a business vehicle. All I got was a personal application. I decided to fill it out. And the call stopped. Never got the business application side of the vehicle. Did do the personal. Calls have stopped. Nobody has responded. Nothing. No more emails. No more calls. None of that. Okay. So what happens next? I get this letter in the mail from the state, from the state's um labor department. And they tell me, hey, they're now call themselves trying to take my business, and they just gonna take it upon themselves to put my business in bankruptcy. And I'm like, what? There's no way you could take my business and put it in bankruptcy. And so I decided that I will wait on the paperwork. I'm gonna see this paperwork. I need paperwork. First of all, I need paperwork to show that I have my businesses. So I waited on the paperwork. Of course, I did my taxes and everything like that. And I needed the paperwork, so I waited on the paperwork. I got the paperwork, and so um, their thing was okay. I owed them 1,600, 800 for some per quarter, something like that. They were saying, and all this and that on insurance. First time filing unemployment. I had no employees or none of that stuff. But when you do the application, they do not let you list that you do not have any employees. You have to put you cannot put that you do not have any employees. So um here it is. Um file unemployment for my business, all of this and that, and they had me on a quarterly. Then I get the letter in the mail. I think like within a month later, or short like a month and a half later, that they're saying that they're on my businesses. And within a month and a half later of me filing, they own my business. Basically, they were saying, "Give it up. We own your business, and we put your business in the bankruptcy." Both of them, and I'm like, "No way! I just filed unemployment, my business with you all, and I have no employees. None of my employees have ever filed for unemployment. I've never filed for unemployment. And in the insurance area, and my business is not thoroughly up and operating. But I had to register with the state. I had to register with the state. I had to put my business in there in the unemployment area. But I say like, yes, but we is hiring. We hiring, but we have no employees. You know, so they're trying to swindle me out of $1,600 per business. And I take it as one of those threat letters. Like either you pay it or you're gonna lose your business. So I just laughed at the letter. I laughed at the letter because I said the state has bitten my apple once again. Once again, I've proven that the state is involved. They bit my apple. First of all, and so and then to take the apple to a candied area, then they went on and added in there that the money is drawing interest. The money due is drawing interest, which means if I do not pay it or pay on it, then it is going to draw interest and the amount is going to increase. So I said, oh, okay. So here it is now. The state is trying to officially, uh, it is official, and I can go on and edit in my protest that they're trying to take my business. Now, all the hoopla that they gave me about all the other paperwork that I sent to the state, come. Now, here it is. They is just going to take my business. They're going to just take both of my businesses. And so I went on and it listed something there for me to appeal and all of that stuff. So I went on and then I appealed. But this is the thing that got it. Okay, so I own two businesses, not one. So when they sent the thing in, they said that they own my business. The first business that everybody was trying to steal, people I heard people were getting happy, they were laughing and they happy. So then on the other paperwork said the same thing. That was the second business. But this is where they messed up at while they were laughing. I was laughing too. Because I'm saying the state is really don't really lost their mind, you know. So the second business, uh, they didn't have nothing because I didn't even put the right tax ID number in there, so they didn't even have that business. Uh, so when they started going out telling people that they stole my business, and then this is the rest of the conversation that they were telling people because I do have ESP and I can hear and see. This is what they were saying. So they were saying that they sent me out these letters saying that I owe for quarterly on both of my businesses. And they were saying that if I try to respond, they were going to ignore me. They were never going to respond to anything that I say or any letters that I write or any phone calls. And they were going to ignore me, especially because each business that has a total of a balance due accrues interest. So the longer that they ignore me, the balance is going to go up. So, despite what I heard, I went on and I filled out the appeal and I sent it in. And so I sent in the paperwork for the appeal on both businesses of the letters that they sent me. But because they were bragging and everything, and because I heard they were going to ignore me, I went on and to the unemployment site and I filed my second business correctly this time, giving them the correct tax ID number. And when it went through, I immediately went on and added it into my appeal. And I let them know, hey, now you're going to have three numbers under this appeal. They almost choked when they found out they had the wrong tax number for the second business. But then they went on and had another meeting and they continued to say that they're going to ignore me and they're going to ignore my appeals and they're going to let it accrue. They're going to let the interest grow and they're going to try to take the business, my businesses. So I said, you know what? The state is busted. You're doing this in my business. I've proven it. That means I've proven you did it in my personal. And the state is going to hear from me and they owe me. The complaints is going to get thickened because they're busted. And all they had to do was stay away from my business. But they're getting greedy. They got very greedy. They got very cocky. And here it is. They're busted. So nobody has the right to put any of my business in bankruptcy. I've never filed bankruptcy, even in my personal. So and why in the world would I file bankruptcy so quickly? I just filed with the unemployment office a couple of months ago. You know, you're gonna rob me that quick? There's no way in the world that I owe you. You know, so you just want my businesses. You just want me swept under the rug, and now you getting busted, and you just don't want everybody to know everything you stolen from me throughout my personal. And how dare you now try to come and rob me of my business? You know, so the state has a lot of answers, questions to answer, and then going in and changing my business tax ID. personal information to say all these different people own my business. If you only know how many people have put erased my name and or whited out my name and put their names on the paper. So in the state is assisting in all of this stuff, and they're going out, they're taking out loans, they're buying vehicles, and they're doing everything, and then they're going back in other years, all the way to the 70s, and posting up my business and living my business and running it in their own dreams. And so and they're getting and they just trying to run it in the they're just trying to run my business name and my businesses in the mud, and trying to make it stink. Um and for a long time they were sending the word out there that my business sucked. That my business didn't have no foundation, didn't have no a growth stability. If I've heard it all. I've heard it all. And they went out and tainted my business, and said it sucked, and put people on it that have a stench, and all the kind of stuff. And then they went out and they started getting people to sign waivers and everything, promising that they'll never purchase anything from me. They've even taken it that far. So when it comes to my business, um, everything with my business, even of one, even of two, has went exactly how I wanted it to go. And I am so proud to be a business owner in every aspect, every area, and I sympathize. And I want those to know that who would ever rob of their business um, by these people, that I hear you, they've come into your business and they've taken business and your human resource, and they set up shop and they keep track. Those are the ones that were lucky, So like they can do what they want. They can gonna ignore me. Like they're mailing me my letters, and they can do whatever they want to. But they're busted. They're busted, and they're just going to owe me a lot. When it comes to I've been through so much therapy and all of that I'm not worried about my personal. Now is my business, because verbally and physically abusing in my personal, and it's just not happening in my business. I'm not You're not gonna go in and try to seize all my accounts and freeze my accounts after you've robbed me and taken a whole bunch of money, and you've been out issuing debit cards and all kind of stuff, and everybody's been swiping like crazy. And you're not gonna try to go and try to sue me for every little word that I say, every little song I sing, every little thing that I do as bonus pay. You're not going to do that. You're not going to come in and just try to get a certain percentage of my money out of my business any way that you could think of. So.
And that is my thing too. That is my thing. They send out all these memos, and they get to talking about. They send out all these memos and they get to talking about my business is broke and all this stuff. I'm broke, and even with the state swindling me, and demanding money from me, with a threat of closing my business and taking my business. It's just like I say. But nobody wants to pay. Nobody wants to handle the money out area of my business. But everybody has something to say. Everybody wants to put their sin on it. Everybody wants to do all of this stuff, but nobody wants to put money out of my business. Nobody wants to pay a bill. Nobody wants to keep me on the airwaves. Nobody wants to tend to my sites. None of that stuff. And nobody wants to pay any of my quarterly dues when it comes to unemployment insurance. So I do not agree with unemployment trying to take money from me in the insurance area when I have not um I have not collected anything from them in unemployment. How dare unemployment try to ride on me? Um so I think that they jumped the situation, and now here it is. When I get my employees, I have to sit there and tell my employees how cruel unemployment is, and should they even go if they ever have a situation to where they need to go, if they even need to go and file insurance and collect, should they even ever do that? Because basically what it is they've started off already with bad business.
I owe nobody nothing in the business area. I owe nobody no business. I owe nobody no vehicle. I owe nobody no home. I owe nobody nothing. No phone, no beepers, cell phones, no switchboards. I owe nobody nothing. Not even the healthcare industry. If I owe you in the healthcare industry, then it's over and personal. I don't owe you in business. If I owe you $3,000 in healthcare area, then it's personal. It's over there in personal. Don't come over into my business talking about I owe you $3,000 or I owe you for housing me in a mental institution. That's over in person. Now we're over in business, and you're over in business because you spread the word to so many people, and then you got the people that you spread the word to that believe you over in my business, thinking that I don't have a business, trying to rob me, thinking that they not robbing me because they thinking that I was a bum, and they doing justice, or they doing a favor, or they doing service, or they helping me, but they're falling into the category of robbing. They're in the category of robbing me, because it is a functional business. It is a registered business. It is active. And then robbing. I don't have to give you any address, any nothing when you have pre-planned to take my business. When you have pre-planned to destroy my business. When you have pre-planned to exhaust my business and trash. In many ways, their whole plan was to make as if it never existed. And they're all busted. And now they're running around talking about, well, where's the business license? Oh, now you want my business license? Well, why don't I just hand everything over to you on a platter?
Well, there you have it, people. There you have it, people. What an interview. I don't know. I tell you, that was just something there to put on the news listing there. And of course, they went on and edited and said that it was not me speaking, it was somebody else. And every time I cry, woe is me, they take it to the pets or kids or a fan. It's everybody but me that is crying, woe is me. Is how that is. So I'm just like, whatever. So I'm gonna take a break here, this commercial, then I'm gonna come back with more news.
Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop.